Hi drummers, hope you're well. Right, little bass drum one for you today. This is the Fatback exercises from this amazing book, which I've waffled on a lot and will continue to, no doubt. This is Time Functioning Patterns by Gary Chaffee. I'm a huge fan of this book, and this is, for me, one of the handful of bass drum development things I've personally done the most. I've been doing this, even this first page, for about 20 years or so, I reckon. There's more than one page of these exercises in the book, but I'm going to go through the first page here and shout out to channel member Alan, who's working on these. In fact, loads of channel members are working through these, and he was playing them against an eighth note feel. We should say what these are is a ton of bass drum variations, like I say. In the book, there's no hi-hat or ride written, and the reason for that is you can play various hi-hat or ride parts along with it. Quarter notes, eighth notes, 16th, and so on. But we're going to go straight ahead here with eighth notes, like the sort of classic version, I guess, the most used version. And he was saying on the page, just what he would really appreciate is just to sort of see it written out. So, by the way, on the channel members page, I've done that as well. I've written out all of these grooves for you with the eighth note hi-hat in place. Sometimes it helps to see the bass drum and snare drum lined up with that hi-hat, doesn't it? So what I'm going to do here is just play through them. Now, I've done various videos doing this already. Did one along to Ghost Town, where I played with eighths and quarter notes and 16ths. I did one along to, as an Ariana Grande song, I think it was Positions, or something like that, and it was, I played the same thing. I think that was maybe a little quicker, was it? Maybe just a bit different. Anyway, here I'm going to go more slowly. I'm going to play it with the metronome. So this is a bit more like we do near the start of getting this page going. I'm not going to do the talking through each one. I have done a separate video that covers that as well. So if you need a breakdown, exercise by exercise here, this is the whole of the first page, page 11 in the Time Functioning Patterns book. So it's numbers 1 to 22. I'm going to do it with the metronome at 70 beats per minute. Just incidentally, because people always ask, when it says bass drum on 1 and 3, that means the bass drum is taking place within beat 1 and beat 3. And when it says 2 and 4, the bass drum is taking place within beat 2 and beat 4. Anyway, let's play. I'm going to do a few repeats of each one. I'll do a little fill that leads us from one to the next, which is a fun way to practice, I think. Try and keep the whole thing flowing. And I'll go all the way through the page. I'll shout when it goes from one to the next. Here it comes. So number 1, 1, 2, 3. So number 1 is the bass drum on the 1 and the 3. 1, 2, 3. Now in number 2, which is coming up now, here we've shifted the bass drum to the E. 1 E and. So between the hi-hats. 3 E and 4 and 1 E and 3 and. Little drum fill into 3. So on number 3, the bass is on the and of beat 1. Beat 3, 1 and 2, 3 and 4. It's in sync with that second hi-hat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4. Little drum fill into number 4. Okay, number 4. It's on the A. 2, 3 and a 4. 1 E and a 3 E and a 4. It's after the second hi-hat and just before the snare. This is number 4. Okay, little drum fill into 5. So number 5 is the first of the 2 bass drums, 1 E, the first 2 16ths. The first one is in sync with the hi-hat, the second is in the gap between the first 2 hi-hats. This is number 5. Okay, drum fill into number 6. Nice simple one. So 1 and 2, 3 and 4. Eighth notes. Okay, drum fill into number 7. Number 7. You've got 1 and 2, 3 and 4. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. So the first bass drum is on the 1, in sync with the hi-hat, and the next one is on the and 2, 3 and 4. 1 and 2. And the second one is in the gap between the hi-hat. If you're just starting off on these exercises, do be sure that you're playing the hi-hat just as straight 8th notes. And although it might be tempting to go with the hi-hat, like play an extra hi-hat when the bass drum comes in on the make sure you're playing it straight. 3 and 4. So the hi-hat all the way, 3 and 4 and. Of course, if you have to, stop, break it down, work it up, talk yourself through it, show your hands and your feet and your brain the combinations before you try and play it at tempo. Okay, drum fill into number 8. So here we're on E and, 1 E and, 2 and, 3 E and, 4 and. So here you've got, the first one is in the gap between the first 2 hi-hats. The second one is on the and, in sync with the hi-hat. 3 E and 4 and. This is number 8. Okay, drum fill into number 9. Number 9. So these are offbeat 16ths, 3 E and 4 and 1 E and 2 and 3 E and 4 and. They both go in between the hi-hats. 3 E and 4 and 1 E and 2 and. Number 10. Number 10. And a 2 and 3 and 4 and. First bass drum with the hi-hat. Second bass drum in the gap. 1 and 2, 3 and. Okay, here we go, number 11. So we got 1 E and 3 E and 4 and 1 E and 2 and. Number 12. 3 E and 4. So 1 E and 2, 3 E. Again, if you're near the start of practicing these, do make sure your hi-hat is playing straight 8th notes all the way, and 3 and 4 and not being like seduced into going with the bass drum. 3 and 4 and. Still on number 12. Okay, drum fill into 13. So 3 and 4, 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 1 and 2, 3 and 4. 1/8 note, 2/16ths, Play that hi-hat straight. Okay, drum fill into 14. 14. 1 E and a 2 and 3 E and 15, all 4 16ths, and beat 1 and beat 3, so 1 E and a 2 and 3 E and a 4 and Okay, now we're on to 16 through to 22. These are the bass drum on 2 and 4. So they take the bass drum hits. It's still 1 hit, then 2 hits, then 3 hits in this case. And it takes place within beat 2 and beat 4. So within the same beat that the snare drum hit is. Here we go with number 16. 2, 3, 4. So this is on the E of beat 2 and beat 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. Keep that hi-hat straight. Okay, let's go for a fill into 17. 2, 17. On the and, 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, 18. So on the last 16th of the bar, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and well, the last 16th of beat 2 and beat 4 anyway. Between the hi-hats. Okay, 19. So 2 E and 3 and 4 E and 1 and 2 and 3 and. On this one, the first bass drum is in between the hi-hats, and the second one is in sync with the hi-hat. Okay, number 20. So off the 16th and 4 E and 1 and 2 E and 3 and 4 E and This is number 20. '21. So and 2 and 3 and 4 and Last 2 16ths. 3 and 4 and So the first one syncs with the hi-hat, and the second bass drum is in the gap. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Last one, 22. So 3 16ths, 4E and 1 and 2E and 3 and 4E, 1 and 2E and 3 and 4E. So that's that. Like I say, on the members page, I'll write out the full notation for those with the 8th note hi-hat written in place. In the book, which is epic, and I 100% recommend, I'll link to it below, you get the bass and snare written out. But the point is, because you can play these with loads of different hi-hat variations, which appear on the previous page or a couple of pages before, that's not actually written in the book. So I'll do that, because I do get absolutely 100% what Alan was saying. When you're perhaps first getting these together or getting familiar with them, it is quite nice if you're someone who enjoys seeing stuff on the page. Like, I can totally get why that's helpful. It's nice to see it all laid out. So the hi-hat written as 8ths and the bass drum lined up. And you can do that thing of working out, okay, does this bass drum go in sync with the hi-hat? Does it go in between? And let's face it, almost everybody, I certainly did, when you're playing some or all of these, in fact at first, certainly most of them, the first step in the process is to sort of, you necessarily have to do a bit of working out. For almost nobody, certainly not for me, they don't just sort of flow straight away. We don't expect them to. The first step of the process with some of them is just piecing it together, man, just being patient, starting at the beginning, breaking it down, showing your hands and your feet and your brain working together, your nervous system, like the combinations involved, letting them to be sort of assimilated a little bit, and then you can start to work up to speed from there. People often say the phrase, people who are starting off with these, they say, I don't know why I'm struggling with these. There isn't, just to be super clear for me anyway, there isn't any expectation that you'll play these smoothly in any particular time frame. Like necessarily, certainly in my case, some of them, most of them, in fact, like I say, had to be built from the beginning, right? And built up to just showing your hands and your feet and your brain. So for example, I don't know, let's do that one at the end. 22, you might well start by going 1 and 2, which is the hi-hat and the snare, E, which is the bass drum, and, which is the hi-hat and the bass drum, which is the bass drum again. 1 and 2, E, and, like do that working out process, right? And I totally get why having that visually, you can see all the events, then you can't really, in theory, you can't go wrong, man, because all you're doing is when you're at that working out stage, you don't go any faster than you can see it, say it out loud, and then play it. The classic error that we all do, but is still not helpful, is going too fast. Like at first, going faster than you can say it out loud if you're in that working out stage. If it's flowing smoothly, great, obviously great. But when you're at that point of needing to work one out, which everybody is, including me, you can't be clear enough about this many times. When you're at that working out stage, don't go faster than you can say it, because if you try and go faster, what you're doing is you're trying to bypass the bit where you actually learn it. Like you're trying to skip a step in the process, which is not a good idea in my experience and my opinion. So that's that. Hopefully that's helpful. Like I say, I'll do the full write-up of each one with the hi-hat written in place on the members page. I'll link to that below. I'll also link to this book, which I 100% recommend. I did notice that a while ago. I think this is still true, and I'll link to this if so. The page that I'm talking about with the bass and snare drum written out, it's page 11 from the book, the first page of the Fatback exercises. It actually has it. You know when you buy a book on I don't think it's Amazon, but a different website where it says look inside, and you click on a page and it has like a couple of pages. The page that it has when it says look inside is actually this page. So I'll link to that as well, assuming that's still live, so you can have a little look at these in the first case without getting the book or being a channel member of this channel. So hopefully that's useful. Shout out to Alan, great suggestion. I appreciate I'm slightly repeating old ground there, but hopefully that's helpful. And doing it with the click there is a nice alternative to doing it with music, and is what we would do. You know, when we first feel like we've got to that point where it's starting to flow, it's starting to happen. So hopefully that's useful. It's like I keep saying, one of the handful of best possible exercises for developing that bass drum speed and flow and skill. I'm using a simple heel up technique, which I'm a big fan of. Keeping it simple. I've described that technique in various other videos, which I'll also link to below or above, depending where you're watching this. And if you have any questions about that or anything else, please let me know. I know bass drum is when you get to that certain level, that sort of grade 3 level, and the bass drum starts doing 16ths like this, as opposed to playing just everything in sync with the 8th notes on the hi-hat. Again, it's a big moment and it's tricky. And the instinctive thing that so many people do is they say, I'm finding this hard, I'm struggling. You know, my opinion is you're not struggling, mate. It just takes time, right? You just have to build it from the beginning. Like, we have to give this thing, honestly, this art form or whatever you want to call it, the respect it deserves, which is basically starting at the beginning, going slow, building that physical and coordination skill that really does take time and effort and repetitions. We don't bring to it an expectation that it'll just flow. We build it. So that's my take on it. Like I say, any questions about that or anything else I can help with on that front, let me know. Shout out to Alan, great suggestion. Thanks for watching as always. Please like, share and subscribe. Thanks as well to all the amazing people who support this channel via my Buy Me a Coffee support page. You can either buy me a coffee, thanks a million to all the lovely people who did that over the Christmas period, massively appreciate it, or you can become a channel member like Alan, which gets you a whole load of things in addition to supporting this channel and helping it grow, which I hugely appreciate. You get a load of stuff, like, for example, you get the notation sheet for this and all other tutorial videos. You get notation and practice along versions of whatever the thing is I'm talking about in the video, but also a whole load of other stuff, a personalized practice plan for you, which I'll update for you as you go along. You can message me anytime, send me your practice videos. I'll do video responses as feedback. I'll be on hand to answer your questions, update your practice plan as you like, and just sort of be there for you and support you as you go along with your drumming. You also get a complimentary Zoom session if you want one, or face-to-face session, in fact, at first, and then access to sessions after that if you want them both Zoom and face-to-face in Cambridgeshire in the UK. Hope that all makes a bit of sense. Any questions about that or anything else, give us a shout and see you soon. Cheers.